And it is a pleasure for me to introduce Pablo Berger, director of Robot Dreams, MACA, the drawer and storyboard artist, and José Luis Árgreda, the art director, so that they can talk to us about Robot Dreams. We're afraid we cannot hear what is being said. We think the microphone is not on. Just a second, let me give you this microphone because yours is not on, not yet. Okay, lovely, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you all and to see so many people in this room. So, question, how many of you have seen Robot Dreams, just to get a general idea, in order not to spoil it for you? Okay, that's good. And those who haven't seen it, well, you know what to do. Movistar, you can rent it. Okay, so we're ready. We're ready. It's a pleasure to be here today on the stage with part of the storyboard team. We have MACA to my left, storyboard artist. To my right, José Luis Árgreda, art director and also storyboard supervisor. There were 5 people in the team. There's a 4th person who's in the room as well, but she's not on stage, who is Yuko Harami, who was the music editor in the team. Yuko, please. And Fernando Franco is missing. He is the one who did the editing of Robot Dream and other of my movies. And as you can see, we were a very small team. And since there are many people from the animation world here, you know that smaller movies than Robot Dreams have had bigger storyboard teams. I'm sorry, I don't know if this is the problem. I think it is the problem. Yes, that's the problem. Let's see if we can. Is that better? Okay, so almost the full team is here.
Hacemos con un micro y nos lo pasamos. Mi barba.
My beard apparently is not helping. I will try not to move. We're going to try and give you a bit of a chronological introduction, and we will spend some time with Q&A because I'm sure that you will want to know more. If we start from the genesis, this is the graphic novel, Robot Dreams from Sarabaro. And then I wrote the script, the adaptation for Robot Dreams. And in this case, I had to set up the storyboard team. José Luis had already been our addition to the team as the art director, and I was going to work with Inigo Retaetxe on the storyboard because he had done the storyboard for my movies. As a real image director, I had done Snow White and with him, and I was going to do this one with him. But you know, the agenda doesn't always work in your favor, so it couldn't become a reality. So the production was already ongoing, and as it happens in real life, you have to find a quick solution, and the best one for a problem. And in that case, I thought, since the movie does not look like the graphic novel, I decided to make an atypical decision to talk to José Luis and tell him, José Luis, would you want to do the storyboard with me? So I gave him the floor, and I talked to him, and I remember that call because at that time I was in Cartoon Saloon. We said that when the project would come out, I would start working as art director for Robot Dreams. But whilst that didn't happen, I was doing a series in Cartoon Saloon, and I remember that call at night. I was at home, and I was thinking, no, this can't be true, this can't be true. Our director in Pablo's movie is going to be too much. And now he also wants me to be in charge of the storyboard. And I answered, well, yes, obviously, yes. But I was a bit naive, wasn't I, when I said yes. But I think it was the best decision. The process, the story process was personally one of the most creative parts of the movie. It was the one that filled me the most, really. Ever since I did graphic novels when I was a kid, that I recall. I was completely committed to what I was doing. I could only think about that. That had not happened to me until Robot Dreams, until I was working at the storyboard, because it was so satisfactory. And we will tell you what the process was like. But that whole process, that family that we created during this animatics phase was amazing. It was filled with emotions. And then the fact that I was doing the story had also its negative part, because the production department was scared, because they thought, if José Luis is doing story, who's going to be doing the art direction while we do that, because they want to overlap those things so that they can meet the deadlines. But Pablo sold the idea pretty well, and in the end I think that production actually helped, actually understood that the fact that I was in the story helped us accelerate other processes later on, because I knew the movie very well, and I knew the Pablo's intentions, and I knew how I could work in an autonomous way while he was completely focusing in other parts of the project. So I think that it was very positive, and I think that production actually understood that we were accelerating some other processes later on, and we actually made up for the time that seemed to have been lost previously. But you need to know that that is not normal. It's actually an exception, I would say. It's not a thumb rule. The art director is not usually invested from the beginning till the end, and I'm talking about 1.5 years of work. Sometimes they can work overlapping, you can have meetings, but it cannot be the way in which José Luis worked for Robot Dreams. And I think it's easier if it is a director who does their stories than the art director. With the art director, it's stranger, isn't it? Yes, and in the production team, everyone saw it as a crazy idea, right, to involve the art director in this. So initially, José Luis was in Cartoon Saloon. The movie Robot Dream initially was going to be a Cartoon Saloon production, because Cartoon Saloon was in love with the project, and it was going to be the first movie that wasn't directed by Tom or by Nora, but they also recommended, they said, well, we have here an amazing storyboard artist. I'm sorry, Pablo, I'm really sorry, but I have to interrupt you. I'm going to give you this one, and we're going to mute that one. I like the old school microphone, so I like it like a TV presenter. I like this better, thank you. And Nuria Blanco from Cartoon Saloon, who's a producer who was working in Cartoon Saloon at the time, she said, well, here we have a Spanish team, and she talked to us about a storyboard artist that she really valued and that was very valued in Cartoon Saloon, so that she could be a part of the team when the movie would be in production with Cartoon Saloon. And I have to say that COVID, the pandemic, cut that collaboration short, because that was the first a movie that they were going to produce with a director that did not belong to Cartoon Saloon. So this is MACA. Now José Luis also knew MACA, so the first step was to have an interview. So since I'm old school, I could actually have dialed the number by doing it like a rotary phone. So I called MACA and we talked for a while. I don't know if this one works. I think this one is for you. Mine works. That's for you. The only one that doesn't work is yours. I remember that call. I really remember that call, because I recall that you were so thrilled with your own movie that I thought, oh, that's cool, so wonderful. You sold it so well to me. You told me it's a love story. It's going to have music. It's going to be New York, and I hung up with that feeling, saying I want to belong to this project. And I was actually, it was in 2020. The pandemic was starting, and I was thinking of going back to Madrid, and I thought, well, you wanted a team that was with you, all of us present, so it just, all the pieces fit together very well. You were with Breadwinner or World Workers? No, no, My Father's Dragon. I was with Nora's next movie, My Father's Dragon. It's true. Something that Maca has said that was important was that to us it was very important to not work remotely. We wanted to work at the studio. And that's where we can actually talk about this room where we were all together. We can talk about San Bernardo, where we have El Camarote, which is like a boat cabin. This is where we all met together. And as you can see, that it wasn't a big room with lots of chairs. No, it's only 20 square meters. It's our producing company. It's El Camarote. And in Cartoon Saloon, how many people were working for My Father's Dragon? There were 7 storyboard artists, normal storyboard artists, then the head of story, and then there was the director, but we never worked with Nora. Nora was in her office, her private office, and for instance, I could not, as a storyboard artist, I could not just stand up and tell her something that I thought or some feeling that I had. No, the communication was completely separate, and in the end actually was a bit like a broken phone, because I would, the head of story would give me some guidelines and I proposed something different, or I tried to play with that, but the communication took longer. There were lots of emails. It was longer, and the process, the creation process, was not as direct, as as seamless as what we had at the camarote, at the cabin, where we were all 3 together in the same room, the same little space, where we were all sitting together. We have an image, I think. We can share that image. Yes, I think we do have that. There's a word that I hadn't known until I started in the world of animation, which is the pipeline, the workflow, the processes, and there isn't a way of, that's the camarote, that's the cabin, the boat cabin. This is at 11 a.m. When we would be eating almonds and drinking coffee. That's our sacred almond and coffee hour. And there isn't a way of doing the storyboard, just one way. And in our case, what was important was I actually preferred to have more time with a smaller team and to work in a close way. And was actually, we were in the same space, and we are going to make a simulation of how we worked, okay? We would have to be closer together. So we spent 3 months working together, José Luis and me, so that we could just move things ahead, so that when MACA would be a part of the team, we could already give her something to do, some work to do. And what was it that we did, José Luis, you and I? Did we do? No, I have my own microphone. So basically, we would get there in the morning. Pablo, so coffee. First thing is coffee. At 9 we would start. And Pablo had already prepared the sequence that we would be working on. And we would read the script. And he would tell me how he would be thinking about it. So he had his list of the different, his shot list with all the different shots, and we would think about it, and then I would start making those shots, and I would make some suggestions. It's the wonderful thing about working with Pablo, and also that is why I was so in love with the project and with this process, because he admits all sorts of suggestions from everyone. He will do whatever he wants in the end, of course, but he does admit your ideas and your contributions. And during those first 3 months, or even less, well, we talked about everything, and we had this seamless communication, and that gave us lots of trust, enough for contributions and suggestions to be any crazy thing that we could think of. And that would help the project itself without having to be shy, and because what you were saying might be dumb. And that would actually be a spark for the other one to think about something else. So that allowed us to make this project grow. So I did thumbnails of the different ideas that we had talked about, and then he would prepare the next sequence. When we were done with this phase, then we would play this theater to MACA. Yes, but when I talk about closeness, it's because we were in the same table. So it's not a cool loft, huge loft. No, we were like this with the computers and the table. We were very close. I mean, the communication was constant. It was not let's do this and this, and then José Luis then the next day would come with something. No, and the thumbnails, we're going to show that to you. It was actually just like writing. Yes, show them so that people know what we're talking about. It's not very detailed. It was just so that for MACA and for us, it needed to be clear enough what it was that we intended to do with the shot, so that MACA could then work on it. Because if I were to do a thumbnail, it would be with stick figures, because I don't know how to draw. The animation director who doesn't know how to draw. I use a Keep Studio. This is the one that I used to draw. And this is the first sequence of the movie. This is Dog's presentation in his apartment in New York. well, here we hadn't designed everything, so we describing the story would allow us to see what were the locations we would have to design, what characters we needed as we went along. Here you see that there are lots of different notes, because it wasn't really important to know that. I mean, it wasn't something that we needed to explain to the team. It was just for MACA to understand and so that she could interpret it. And we also, I mean, Yuko, who participated as music editor, she also had New York locations, and there were things that we needed to refer to. We needed references, and Yuko would look for references as well. Yes, Yuko was really so necessary, because sometimes, for instance, we knew that, for instance, the doorknob needed to be from the 70s in New York, and Yuko had a wonderful folder filled with documentation. So we worked on these thumbnails, and if we go on with the process, the next one would be, do you have the little drawing that MACA did with a theater play? Because we had our own terminology. This was the teatrillo, like the little theater play. And I hate this one because I think I'm very, very old. So we have Frankie and Nori here. And we are young and old at the same time. But this is at the camarote, and this is how we explained things to her. We didn't acting, yes, 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 but with voices and sounds and everything. We would just roll down on the ground, and MACA is very demanding. MACA doesn't say yes to everything. If she doesn't understand something, she says, I don't understand this. Why is this going on? Why is this happening? And that was great, actually. So MACA needed to feel that everything worked. And once MACA had understood something, then she would tell us what to do. And now you can tell us what your process is, how to go from thumbnails to storyboard. Well, actually in this drawing you cannot really see it, but it was literally your table and then I was here just beside them. It was actually like now, I would say. Yes, yes, it was actually like this. I don't know if we have any pictures from the camarote, but this picture is better. Yes. Yes. Yes, true. MACA would be here on the sitting at the table. Then there was another table, and we were on the one behind, and we would just give her the papers like this. And the theater play, was like that. It was like, okay, and I would just turn around and I could start working. It was like the Marx Brothers cabin in the boat. So it was great because with your theater, I got the intention, which was the most important part, and what you wanted to show. José Luis had part of the concept, and everything was there, and I just did the animatics. And for those of you who don't know what the animatic is, it's like the storyboard, but I actually took José Luis's thumbnails through Storyboard Pro, and I created a video. That would be the first edition, a rough edition, and that would be the first version in animatics. And as soon as I was done with that, I would turn around and I would say, hey, let's look at it. So to follow the whole process, we will do it with a sequence. Should I play it now? Well, we can talk about it and then you can play it. So MACA is the fastest in the West. I mean, those 3 months that we had to work before she arrived were not enough, because she was very, very fast, and we needed to be many sequences ahead. But she's very fast and very agile, and she's always working, and she was always working. She was very agile, and MACA did her version, and she would show it to us. And it was cool because we would see it all together. It was that moment where we all sat together with our little notebooks, and we would just look at it together, and I love that little moment. So maybe we could just act as though this was a premiere, and we can see the animatic together. This is the draft of the animation movie, of what this movie will be later on. I'm going to play the same sequence that I showed in the thumbnail so that you get an idea of the process. So, I'm sorry, the microphone, if he could use a microphone. So this is a fine-tuned version, but there are changes. We have seen the old version. I'm sorry, he needs to use the microphone. If he doesn't use the microphone, it doesn't work. So the neighbors weren't there. If you could actually ask him to use the microphone, it'd be lovely. There are some changes that yes, actually the neighbors appeared later on. Yes, that's true. And I think that's important in the process. Yes, I think, and it's also important that it shows the loneliness of dog. These people who are hugging, and I'm here in the light. So that loneliness is really important. Oh, and something we haven't said. Those of you who have seen it, and those who haven't, this is a movie without a dialogue. So the visual part, the way in which you have to tell how the characters feel has to be visual, just visual. So when we did the animatics, we knew what happened, but we thought, does the audience know what is happening? And we needed to have that balance that the neighbors allowed us to show, so that you could really see the feelings of this character. And what you see here is actually silent movie. Then there was a phase when we had the sequence. When it was ready, we sent it to Yuko, and Yuko would play a basic sound design and music, lots of music, ads, or the music that could fit with the beginning, because the music with the ad with Robot Dreams, with the robot, was very important as well. And here we also have Fernando start working with us. He is the editor, Fernando Franco. So we followed phases. We had a version, us four, we had a version that we liked. And then Fernando would be a part of the team, and that was what's great about animation, which is the fact that I would sit with him and Fernando could propose things. Well, this shot, I think it should be longer. Maca, 2 more seconds. And this, I think we should need a forefront. We need to zoom in. And we would include certain modifications. And yes, to me that was very, very pedagogical, because Fer is great at editing, and I had done some storyboards, but animatics was a basic editing. But having Fer there and learning from him where he cut, where he wouldn't cut, it was pretty great. And Maca is a natural. She's really a natural. José Luis, the reason why, I mean, he's a great artist, and he loves the movies and the cinema, and I knew that he could be the storyboard supervisor. And Maca is a cinema lover. We're always talking about cinema. So you have this great feeling of rhythm and acting. You know how to feel the rhythm. And those of you who have seen the movie and animatics, and I think that was also a message that we wanted to send to you students. Animatics have to be in the movie. You have to feel it. It cannot just be, oh no, then later we'll do it. When we do the movie, it'll be better. No, we know that it'll be better when you do it, because it will be better finished. There will be lots of artists. There are hundreds of people working on it. But the storytelling and the acting has to be in the animatics as well. So that is just for you to understand how important animatics is, and how in-depth you have to work on it. So we're going to play this sequence once it was finished in the movie, so that you see how it works. Yes, and I wouldn't say that an advantage of having worked with just one storyboard artist, despite the times and that period and so on. When you see a storyboard that was made by 6 people, you're always readapting and saying, this person has drawn it in a different way. This is that character, that other character. There are just lots of jumps, and each storyboard artist has its own style, even if there is a supervisor. So it is a bit of a work tool, but this was really a basic movie. And I think that to us, that was actually very emotional, and it was very practical as well when designing the project. Once we showed the project to the team that was starting to work with us, they could see immediately the movie. It was real for us that the movie was basically finished at the end of the animatics. Only 3 years to go. Only 3 years to go. So we needed to just clean it up and improve it. But it's true that we felt that the movie was already there because we had the same artist, we had the music, we had already a sense of pace. So I'm going to show the sequence, but as you can see, it was a very reduced team, a very small team working for 1.5 years.
¿Se puede apagar las luces para verla?
Espera, que me pasa.
A ver, un poquito así, a ver si lo podéis ver.
Sí tendrá sonido, ¿no?
Uy, espérate. Es que con esto no sé moverme. Bueno, ponemos aunque sea los... Lo ponemos desde aquí. Ah, sí. No lo sé. Ahora les ponemos toda la peli, ¿no?
So they'll be able to see the whole movie now.
No depende de mí.
No está mal, ¿eh? No está mal.
Not bad, not bad. Obviously, we have the work of a full studios, many artists. Hello to all of them who are following this through the streaming. A team of wonderful animators, wonderful artists, the production team, hundreds of people who were helping us. This is like the layouts of the architect. We were the ones who were the architects, but then I remember the first time that I saw it in a movie theater. There were a lot of things of the animation that I was seeing for the first time. So seeing dog with a cheese or with a napkin with so many beautiful details that were adding kind of like the next steps. It was really wonderful. Like everything with an extra face, adding an extra layer. You know, every face improving what we had done before. And it's the relevance of the script, but in an animation movie, the script it becomes the animatics. I mean, it came a point in time in which the script had changed that much that we stopped reading it because we changed many, many things. We did a visual rewriting. It's a movie that is written in images and that we visually rewrote. The question that I have for you, how is it going from a visual thing, which is a graphic novel with no text, to write a text explaining what's happening in the novel and then move, passing that on again to images. Why complicating things so much? There was people that, because I've done a lot of interviews and I've traveled, but you already had the storyboard in the graphic novel. No, this sequence was not in it. At the start of the movie, the solitude, the starting in New York was not there, or sequence that are in the book but then hadn't been shot in the movie. So and also you have to describe every shot in a very summarized way so that every sentence is a shot, and there is kind of like a writing techniques because you have to read it in a very agile way. You have to read it, I mean, 1 minute per page. If it's written the way a script needs to be written with a lot of blank spaces, and if I show you what Robot Dream's script is, can you see the tremendous blank spaces that we have in it? Sorry, he's not using the microphone now. There's one thing that is very curious for a movie like this one with no dialogues is the relevance of music. I remember that the first time that I read your script, I was surprised because you spoke a lot about music using words. You had the song September was already on the script, definitely September. So music, as we were saying, is extremely relevant, and we wanted to show, we really wanted to show a sequence of the animatics. That's the time that Dog and Robot go to the beach and had a wonderful time over there. That's Yeah, just for you to have an idea of how we were doing things, what it meant to adapt things. This is the development. Robot and Dog at the beach. This is in the graphic novel by Sarabado. Then in the script we see it in greater detail. And then Jose Luis and myself, plus MACA doing the animatics. All of a sudden this becomes something that's totally different. Let's take a look at it. Without music, so you see what a great difference, how music is so supportive of the image, so supportive of what's going on in the movie.
Y no solo en la imagen final, ¿no? Como hemos visto.
Not only in the final image, as we were seeing at the beginning of the movie, but also how it elevates the animatics.
Y eso es cómo trabajábamos nosotros.
And that's how we were working. But then I remember, I mean, we were showing you this sequence because it was very, very special to us. We gave Juko, our music editor, this sequence, and then she surprised us. And I remember the first time I saw it, and I totally loved it without the music. We had the drawings in our heads, but I didn't know what he was going to give us back. And I remember Juko presenting exactly this.
Ahora empieza la música.
The music will start now.
¡Guau! ¡Qué
I started crying so much. You cannot imagine. I was so moved, and that was me. And afterwards, because we were working with different coils, and I was doing my own design. I had my own feedback. We were never showing this to anyone. We assemble pieces of 20 minutes of the film, and then we show it to everyone. Please tell me your reaction when you saw this. This one, it was very moving, but I remember the end when we were all in silence, all seeing you go with the music. We were all bowling. I mean, we've seen this 200 times. Why is it that we are getting so moved and we have started to cry so much with a lot of Kleenexes around us? And it was, I don't know, seeing it at the end with music and sound. I mean, it was terrible. After the first 20 minutes, when we came to this last one with all the sound and everything, was going back to what we have done before, but so changed, so elevated that And this process lasted a year and a half. It was like going to the factory, but in a good sense, going to the studio, to the cabin day after day. Of course, it was like going to the gym. MACA started working faster. I came up with many good ideas really, really fast. So things were growing. And at the end, with a very small team, 5 people, in a year and a half, we had the movie. The animatic was practically the whole movie. We already had the feelings that it was producing, and we saw it already in the animatics. And one thing that was really interesting when talking about the animatics is that in this animatic phase, with a very, very small team, this allows you to test. And we had like alternative sequences, eliminated sequences. Now we're preparing a special DVD, the Lux connection for fans and freaks. We're going to have many of the scenes that were eliminated by the directors, because we have many scenes that were eliminated and were only in animatics. This is really cool to take a look at. There were some scenes that I really, really like, and I understand that maybe you took the right decision to use the alternative or to eliminate it, but I am in love with some of these deleted scenes. Not only the ones that were deleted or ruled out, but while we were in the process, it's like, let's try it like this. Doesn't it look like too long? Or let's see what's going on with the process. This was like a previous phase of the test that we were doing. Some sequences were eliminated, some of them are alternatives, but in alternatives we were 4 or 5 alternatives of the same sequence until we said this one's the very best for it. And this could be done in that phase. Once production of the movie is started, you cannot do it because of the cost, the animation team, the different stages. But in here, we had no limit. We could play with it. Also because MACA is really fast in her work. And we also have Fernando that came with his own opinions. Maybe we had an idea, Fer or Yuko took a look at it and made us reconsider. Yeah, I'm going to show you one of these sequence that we tested and the improvement that we did, the presentation of the bird family. Yeah, with an alternative version, yeah. And they were banners with the months, and we took them out.
Esa presentación peculiar del pájaro.
El pajarito aparece por ahí. Y,
that presentation of the bird and having the bad time that Robot was having at that time with this plastic bag of this smiley time flying around. We really like those alternatives, you know? Snowman, which one are we going to show? The shorter one, the one of the penguin. We'll give you some context, because in the graphic novel Snowman, for those of you who've seen the movie, was a reality, was not a dream, was a reality. In Sarah Baron's world, a snowman could come alive, it could become alone, and we had given the movie such a realism, such a level of realism with New York, with a specific brand. Everything was so specific that we were having doubts. Some people would rather have a real snowman, but the team MACA, we decided that it had to be a dream. But for a certain amount of time, we had the alternative of having a snowman as a real thing, and if it's a real thing in springtime, it was going to melt with the coming of the good weather, and the snowman was to die.
Esta nos gustaba.
We really like this one, but we had another version in a basketball pitch that we really like a lot. In a basketball court, sorry. And I think it would be great if we could, I mean, we've seen the whole process. We've been able to summarize a year and a half in only 40 minutes. But what would be great if you will ask questions. Any questions?
Vale, pues doy aquí abajo, que ya que estoy aquí al lado.
Since I'm right here, I'm going to pass you the microphone and then I will go up. Hello. This is more a question for MACA because I'm extremely surprised that in the animatics that you show at the very beginning, it was the exact final or end scene of the movie. This is very strange. I mean, because these type of shots evolve after years and a lot of people get involved. But in this case, the animatics, from the animatics to the end, is the same. It's practically the same thing. So could you compare this experience with the previous movies that you did and the ones that you're doing afterwards, and how different this is, and what elements you think that make having a small team a better experience compared to working with larger teams? It is true that in this movie, the animatics are very similar to the end product. For Pablo and Jose Luis, we wanted to see the acting there. So when we sat and saw it, we had to see the face expressions, dogs' face expressions, even if they were subtle. I remember that sometimes you corrected things like the camera. No, the camera has to be motivated by something. I learned a lot while working with him. Yeah, the movement of the camera needs to have a reason behind. And something that is unique within this experience is that you really like movies, and that was very noticeable. I feel sad about this because animatics have to do very much with cinematography. We are filming a story, but some directors do not consider it so relevant. However, for us it was a key factor, the craft, the crafting of creating a movie, doing a movie. So that was very well represented, because I think we were paying a lot of attention to these subtle things. The shots have to be the way they have to be. The camera needed to move the way it had to move. We had to take a look at the right facial expressions, and we were able to do it like that. And to me, it was extremely, extremely beautiful, and I learned a lot. And we were talking about movies all the time. Every day we started by asking ourselves how many movies you saw yesterday, or what movie you saw yesterday. Yeah, Coffee Break was amazing. You went into Letterboxd, you were a pioneer in Letterboxd, and you were already there rating movies. And it's something that I really like compared to other animation productions that I've worked in. Maybe the story is more you use and you throw away. We try, and if not, we throw it away, and there's no problem. And now we're going to change completely the script, or don't trying to improve it. Leave it as it is, because then in the layout we'll do some changes, or maybe it wasn't changing the layout. This intentionality in everything that we were doing, and when being the three of us in the cabin, the comments that we had to one another, the feedback that we were, it was something that could be changed instantly. There was not a chain of emails asking the producer, what do you think about this or that? And that made it possible for us to advance and to do something that was quite unique in a very meticulous way, something that was constantly alive, and the editor participating constantly. When having a producer and a director that was not coming from the animation world, we were bringing about our experience in the world of live action. And the editor was also very involved. Fernando was extremely involved from the very beginning, listening to one another and being very much on top of the storyboard to know where the camera was going to be placed and how things were edited. I cannot understand if the editor or the supervisor says, I want these short shots, and I don't know, you propose one thing, but within the creative process that has already, I mean, we've already done the thumbnails, so she can work and she can contribute on top of those thumbnails. You were very much within the process. You didn't go. You were there on a daily basis. We were all the time together. And I was going to say that we are thankful to Arcadia because they gave us enough time for us to work with peace of mind at ease. They were not very much unproductive. Of course, they wanted for us to meet a deadline, and we did meet the deadline, but at the same time, we had plenty of time to have a close animatics that was maintained throughout the movie with not many changes. In other experiences that I've had working in movies, they're still doing the animatics while you are animating, doing backgrounds, and rewriting. What was magical about this was to have something that was very convincing, was already perfect. And the movie, when we projected to the animators, when they joined us, animatics was finished, and I already felt it as an ended movie. As an ended movie, and the animatics was maintained from the beginning to the end. And producers were extremely happy. They knew that we were following the animatics, and I was feeling fully satisfied. It was completely different to any other storyboard experience that I've ever had, but it's worked out really, really good. I don't know if this working methodology could be implementable in any other project. You were very clear about what you wanted, so I don't know if this is a way of working that can be generalized. I don't know if things can be done this way in all productions, but in this case, things have worked really good. We have another question up there. I've taken a look at the pictures of the graphic novel, and I've realized that you've changed the style of the characters. Were you inspired by another show of movie that we already know of? And which ones? I wasn't seeing you. Could you raise your hand, please? Wave at us. Because I had a spotlight right there and I couldn't see you. Well, we do have influences, but nothing specific. We wanted to see the evolution. Well, we want to evolve Sarah's team, and we wanted to respond to the narrative that we had planned for it. And if we needed backgrounds with a lot of information, because it was a silent movie, but we have to give information about the era in which it was being filmed, more or less the moment or the year of the narrative. We couldn't use a more generic style like Sarah's one is not as specific as us, and then three-dimensionality, and characters needed to be worked in this three-dimensional space. We wanted to maintain the essence of Sarah's work, but taking it to a point in which was useful for Pablo's storytelling. Yeah, it was kind of like a makeover of the characters. They're inspired by Sarah's ones. The backgrounds are very different because this is a very generic city, not detailed background, and the style is flatter, but we can share a clear line in which we are. But let me insist on this. In the graphic novel is like a melody, an acoustic melody, and what we did was like a symphony because it was more epic, more complex. But the melody, the essence is the same one, is the soul of the story. But at the same time are very different. They are very much the same, but very different. More questions? I just wanted to say that it was a beautiful movie. We still have some people up there. Hello. It is a great pleasure. First of all, I want to say that I've already seen the one of Nacho, the one of your producer, Robot Dreams, and you have a team that is very much in love with your work. Nacho showed every character within the city, every animal had their own personification. You had a person doing practically all the backgrounds, 2D, not even 3D. The producer was also showing the transition of the design of the novel to what it became in animation. And they provide a lot of information, and we noticed that they're very much in love with their own movie. I just wanted to thank you for that, because you make us feel closer to the story, to the movie. This is a group that use Harmony, the backgrounds in Photoshop, and you made us feel so close to this project that we do not need like a super production of millions of dollars to do a good movie that will move you to the core. And I wanted to thank you because you make us feel close to the movies, and you make it very lively and very beautiful.
Lo-
Well, the only thing you need is a good story and lots of passion and to really believe in what you do. But I mean, you can create great movies and a great captain as well. Well, a good team. Well, a captain is as good as his team. So there was a good harmony, I have to say, in the team. We really enjoyed it. It was hard, like any process is, but we had a great team at Robot Dreams. Any other questions? Okay, here, there is one here. Okay, there. My question is for Pablo. How was it to change your way of working from live action to 4/5 drawing lines? Can you tell us how that process went about? It was actually very natural. I thought, what can I offer to the animation world if there is something that I can offer coming from live action? And it was my experience with actors. And actually what I needed was to replace actors with animators. But just as we work so closely, MACA and myself, or José Luis and myself, well, with animators, I also had to work very closely because we had our camarote, our little cabin. We had our animation studio close by. They would come. Benoît Ferremont, who was the animation director, his hand can be felt there. He's one of the great animators in Europe, but there were also great animators there. So our relationship was very close. And I don't come from the world of animation. I'm not a technical person, but it's not needed. I mean, it's not really necessary for the director to be an animator, just like in the live action director does not need to be a cameraman. I mean, you need a storyteller who knows what to tell and how he wants to tell it, and who has to have a sort of lie detector or emotions or truth detectors. And what I was looking for was emotion and truth. And I work with animators talking about characters and acting as I would with an actor. And it was actually a beautiful process to work with animators. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Okay, so the problem is that we can't ask any more questions because we don't have time. So would it be a problem if they ask you when you're around, if people go talk to you, if they have a problem, if you could answer a question later on? No, no problem whatsoever. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pablo, Maca, and José Luis. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.